And Dolores, we can also encourage everyone to turn their screens on. So for the students out there, I would encourage you to turn your screen on and participate here. This is a great opportunity. You have 3 people who have really done important things, and you can ask any of them questions. And this is such an important topic. I will say, you know, as director of MSARF now, one of the things we've seen is we've looked at pipeline for anesthesia and anesthesia research and physician scientists. One of the biggest struggles is that issue of resilience. And so this is a critical topic. Embracing failures, understanding how to work through failures is really, really important if you're going to pursue, well, for any career, but definitely one where we see challenges in the anesthesiology research community. So take the opportunity, ask questions.
And they could be about anything, guys, really, honestly.
I had a question that relates to both speakers, really, but the dad dog and the baby dog, I forget their names. Apologies. It got me thinking about the types of cheering grounds that we have, and where that impacts our resilience on what level. So like academic versus personal, and in your experiences, both of you, how have those impacted your resilience in different ways?
Yeah, great question. So my parents are non-medical. They have like literally no idea day to day what I do. Don't understand what an RO1 is, like vaguely it's important, but like they don't have the specifics of the things that I need to succeed, but they care that I am happy and, and moving forward in my career. So if I need a cheering section with, like, I can give them zero background and be like, I'm having a tough day, and I will get cheering. If I go to mentors here and I say, my RO1 didn't score, whatever, they'll know what that means immediately. They'll probably start thinking and brainstorming solutions with me when I'm ready for that. So your different cheering sections that you build have different purposes. And I haven't really thought about that actually before, but it's very different things that I would go to for, my very close friends here in my like faculty peer group. And I would go to my mentors with different things. And so definitely different and complementary, and learning how to leverage those towards whatever resilience boost you need, I think is, the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get with it.
Well, I tell you, to have the proper cheering squad, Dr. Evanovich, I got it. I've been practicing. Okay. You have to let them in, and for everybody, it's different. As you can see from my talk, everyone is different, but having those groups that just like you no matter what. Now, what I worry about is that medicine can be isolating just by itself, because you are really a small group of people going through a small thing, right? So how do you find that net? How do you spread it out so that you can find those people that really support you all the time? My advice to this group, and I know it's hard, I know you're tired, volunteer for something. Pick something that you love and volunteer. You will find a group that is like-minded with you, that some are medical, some are non. I remember going to a Christmas event that we did once when I was in Baltimore. And believe it or not, this is truth be told. I had 6 students that were in my lab that just showed up. I didn't tell them I was going. So it really spoke to me on how important it is that they thought that finding this outward group that believed in other things was important. So I would say for this group, if there's any little piece I can give you, I know you're tired some weekends, but go make that garden, go volunteer, go find that group, or just do something with your hands. It will help you find that bigger group that will support you no matter what. And it also makes you a better partner to your groups at work. You'll see other people from work there too.
Other questions?
Looks like Caitlin has a question.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I wanted to ask just so I know two of the pillars we talked about were relationships and self-care. And so what are some ways that you guys like intentionally maintain those? Because I know it can be really hard when you're so busy and like going through a lot of stress and everything.
Sure. I'll lead off since that was the pillar in my talk, but Elizabeth, we were two sides of the same coin. So anyway, and we didn't plan it. I saw Dr. Whitlock's talk for the first time today, but anyway, relationships, that can be tough because you're studying for tests, you're doing all these things that some people are doing and other people aren't doing. But remember, everything is a relationship. When you're at the grocery store, what kind of citizen are you? When you're, coming to work, what kind of citizen are you to interacting with your colleague? Are you the person that remembers that small argument that nobody remembers, or are you the person that says, okay, it's a new day, I'm going to be that person that looks that person in the eye and says, good morning. These kinds of small strategies will really build that positive outlook around you. And they're hard. Trust me, I hold a grudge like nobody. So when getting past that thing where I had to say, okay, I disagreed with my buddy here, but I got to look them in the eye and say, good morning, that really helps. Regarding self-care, Dr. Crutchley, I struggled too, okay? I struggled completely with that because I did all these things that took lots of time, you know what I mean? I played soccer, so you had to shower, you had to find the team, you had to do this, you had to do that. So I struggled to find how to do that well. And virtual and all the things virtual really worked for me, but I just kept working at it, okay? With that, I'm gonna stop and say there's no easy answer. Remember, failure is just trial one, okay?
Yeah, my kids right now are 3 and 5 years old. And we used to have my mother-in-law living with us, and then she got bored and moved away, and it's not easy. And I think one of the things that helps me with balance is just recognizing that it's not possible to do all the things well all of the time, and giving myself grace about that. It's like today, I didn't check my email all day, and there are going to be some emails that are going to be yelling at me tomorrow, but like I instead spent 45 minutes paying attention to my kids. Or, and tomorrow it might be I spent 45 minutes telling my kids to watch Bluey, because I'll be honest, that happens a lot in our house. And I don't feel bad about it because there's only so much that you can do. And so coming to a sensation of like doing your best, giving yourself grace, finding alternatives for, people that need to be managed in your life. Having a supportive partner is really, really important in my world, because without it, I don't know that I could balance the things that I do. So it's nice to have someone to punt other responsibilities to. We didn't have kids super early in our relationship, in part because it was like, we got to be really ready. He's a professional, also works sometimes 14-hour days. So there's no right way to do it, luckily, which actually means that there's a bunch of right ways to do it. And so you don't have to stress about finding like exactly the right way, but we're all sort of lurching gradually towards a common goal of surviving and growing and being reasonably well adjusted at that.
I'll say as well, I'll just weigh in here, that I had a friend, a peer, tell me a few years ago when I got an email from a very prominent person in research who didn't know me, but he just reached out. And she said, great, you should keep that in a folder. You should have an email folder where you keep those things. And so I have a folder called Need a Lift ? And so I go to that. And I go to that when, and it's emails that I've amassed over the years from this individual, from my bosses, from mentees, and then just from colleagues, from my dad, right? And so I think that those are places that I go to when I need to remember that, like, yeah, I've had some success at times, and I've had some things that I can be proud of, because you don't always feel that way.
Thank you, guys.
I think one thing that's unique about academia is oftentimes a rejection is success. And what I mean by that is it's pretty common for a grant to be discussed, scored, but not funded. And that's a success. You say, oh, great. They talked about us for 5 minutes at the NIH and they're going to tell us what they want us to fix. Or you get a paper, and I think the first manuscript I ever submitted, I got the responses and I thought, boy, they hated this. And my PI called me, he said, it's incredible. You get to respond. And you go through all these pithy comments that are going to tell you how terrible you are and how stupid you are for not thinking of all these things. And that's success, right? Because then you get the opportunity to revise and resubmit. And I that is a hard one to teach people. And I have a T32 fellow who just submitted his K. And I said, great, hopefully we'll get some scores and discussion. He said, oh, I wanted to get funded. But I wanted to get funded too. But really like tempering that initial enthusiasm, because I think one challenge in medicine is you've had a lot of success in your life to get to this point. It hasn't always been easy, but you have accomplished a lot to be on the screen today. And so it is hard to now be put into a position where failure is part of the process. I don't know, if others want to jump on that. It wasn't really a question, but more of a statement comment, because I think it's important to know, and this will be part of your sort of academic experience. Hopefully, to be fair, hopefully you'll get pithy comments to which you can reply. That's our goal for your summer, is for you to write a paper that gives you the opportunity to reply to pithy comments from reviewers.
Because I put this in the chat, I'll restate it here for the group, because it's taken me about a decade to learn to respond to a revise and resubmit. Like my initial emotional reaction now is basically sweet. And like I have a lot of colleagues who don't publish frequently, who aren't really in research per se. And what happens often is you get this back and they sort of sit on it for about 3 weeks, just being sad and like feeling sad, like nobody loves their research. And then maybe they sort of show it to somebody and they're really disappointed and embarrassed. And like, those are maladaptive coping strategies. Those, if you want to be in science, like you got to unlearn those. And so I'm there to help my colleagues process that and like move forward through it, because I've navigated that now enough times that I've been able to see the value in grant reviews where things weren't funded, in a critical revise and resubmit. Like I'm in with a chance, right? It's very different than like they didn't like it. So go and find the people in your department who know how to do that well, because it is a learned skill. It is absolutely not a normal native reaction to that feedback.
When I was first studying what I study for my career now, it was a crazy thing. I studied anesthetic toxicity, and everyone said to me, we don't use halothane anymore. Why do you care about that? So let's fast forward over 10 years in the business of, this funding, that funding, this international conference, that international conference. And what I actually study, which those around me know, is not anesthetic toxicity. It's why did anesthetics induce toxicity? Why did it happen? The best advice I got from someone was that, and one of my leaders in the field said to me, if you have an idea that everybody thinks is a crazy idea, it's probably a really good one. If you have an idea that everybody jumps on the bandwagon and understands immediately, that it's probably just a regular idea. So I guess in his way, and it was clunky, but he meant well, he was telling me that sometimes innovative ideas take a while to be understood. Let's flash forward 2022. Everybody's studying the liver now in fatty liver. And my lab's been studying it for many, many years. because anesthetics cause toxicity through fat. So when you think about it, pick something that gives you the purpose. And then you find the people around you that understand that. So, because I had to find them. I had to find, deans. I know me as a dean, as an assistant professor talking to a dean, I had to find like older researchers that have now just passed on since COVID, people that have been doing this a long time that know the ebbs and valleys of academic medicine. And this worked not just for my academic career in research, but just in general, your career and your life. So, because I know at FAIR, we're interested in the physician scientist, so this is what we focus on, but we're also interested in the academic science. And those people go through ebbs and valleys. We do it all the time in different areas that are important and some things that are less important, but all of it culminates in you having a successful and fruitful career, no matter what that is. And it's more important that it's something to you, not for what somebody else said, okay? It's something to you, right?
Well said, Dolores. Other question, we've got a couple more minutes, but then I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
You can download that episode of Bluey for 99 cents from like Google Play and stuff. And there's so much more in there. I had to cut like 6 slides.
So my wife's Australian. We lived in Australia for a little while, and that show is spectacular. It's actually one that I think most adults would enjoy, even if you don't have children. It's a spectacular show, and there are a lot of good life lessons in there. My mother-in-law thinks I should be more like Bluey's dad, so I'm working on that too. So these are all good things. So listen, Liz, Dolores, do you want to give any closing thoughts, remarks, any parting words of wisdom? Not to put you on the spot, but I mean, this is a group of high functioning. This was a very competitive year for MSARF. We went through the applications. It was tough. So this is a great group. Any thoughts or wisdom you can impart as it relates to either their summer or this longer term affair? Because these are people you'll want to connect with when you come to ASA. You want to come over. We'll make sure that, Liz, I'm going to make sure you come over and visit us at the MSARF event. So any parting words?
I'll say that I think this is a great time to get into anesthesiology research. I think that if you see yourself potentially making a long-term career here, there's a tremendous amount of lateral and senior mentorship, because over the last 5 to 10 years, we've begun to understand how hard it is as a young starting out kind of person to reach out to like put yourself out there. Like that is tough. And yet so helpful to have that kind of investment in your early career. Feeling comfortable to reach out to people with failures, to tell people about your failures, to find that cheering section with whom you're able to be totally honest about how that did not go well for you. I think that's the most precious part of this advice for me, and what has helped me the most is just identifying who is there to support me. And it turns out to be like a much wider palette of human beings than I would have ever guessed.
Great thoughts.
So I think following that and following Chad, I can say one thing, or a couple things, that failure is trial one. You're not the first to be here. Remember, the laws of gravity were rejected. Remember, the laws of gas were rejected. All these things were rejected during their time. So those people, even before we thought about it, were leaders in how we think about things today. So remember, rejection is normal for great ideas. It's just the way it is. And there are people out there that will help you. The one thing I'm going to say, and I know that you have talks about this, rejection has no color, no race, no ethnicity, no nothing. So this is our moment to get out there and say, everybody has experienced it. And you can find somebody, and don't be afraid to say that that person might even have a different life experience, but there's something that you share. And this thing that you share will make everybody greater, because they can help you with how they coped with it, and you can help them by recognizing that's something we share. Anesthesiology is known for research, known. We were the researchers that went into the OR. This is what happened. So don't forget your history. You come from a long line of researchers, right?
Well, Drs. Njoku and Whitlock, thank you so much for giving us your time today. I'm really appreciative of all the students for showing up. We'll have more sessions throughout the summer. Olivia is the boss. She tells me where to go and when to be there. And so she will continue to communicate with you. But I'm going to strongly encourage you to be in places where you can have cameras on and be engaged, because these sessions are intended for you. They're supposed to be interactive in many cases. And so try to be in a place where you can engage, because these are golden opportunities to get feedback and learn. So again, Liz, Dolores, thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good one.